Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Joy Dancers Talks, and today we have Taimour with us from Taraki. How you doing, Taimour? You okay?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, just excited. We're actually excited, yeah, because we want to talk about a couple of interesting things with yourself. And I remember we done a podcast many years back, and it'd be interesting to see sort of the transition or any development in like male mental health. So I just wanted to really start by saying, obviously, the more works with Taraki, and we just want to discuss like what are you currently doing with Taraki at the minute, regarding male mental health.
Of course. So I've been at Taraki full time about 3 years now. 3 years this month, actually. So it's a nice work anniversary. And I lead the men's pay sport program there. So what that means is that we're funded by Movember to create a pay sport curriculum, basically an educational program to teach Punjabi men pay sport facilitation so that they can go out in their own communities and be able to support other men, not just themselves, but other men in terms of their mental health. So I've been doing that 3 years and it's going so great, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here and be the project lead on it. Considering I don't really have a mental health background. So I started attending therapy spaces 5 years ago, just as someone who uses the space. So to go, in 5 years to go from a user to someone who leads the project on an international level is it's really is like, yeah, it's the stuff dreams are made of.
Yeah, that's exciting because obviously, like you said, you've sort of covered your journey there from like participating to leading. And I just want to ask, over the last 3 years since you become more involved, have you seen more of a positive impact in terms of contribution by Punjabi men? Because generally the stigma is historically that men don't talk about their emotions, they keep it bottled up. Do you see a bit more of a opening up of that?
I do. I think that cliche that men don't talk about their emotions is it's not true. I think men can and do talk about their emotions. Actually, they don't stop talking about their emotions if the environment is supportive and safe for them. So yeah, I think that kind of like old school narrative doesn't necessarily feel as true based on the work that I do, because the men that we work with are so open, are so willing to be vulnerable as well to a great degree. I think it's just about creating the right space. Of course, there are cultural and gender challenges that we have. So as a man, I find it more challenging to open up about my emotions, whether it's to my friends or even like my own partner, which I know drives her a bit crazy. But I think, you know, I always say, you have to meet men where they are, not where you would like them to be. And I think our work really honors that.
So I wanna touch on that because you said it's about creating a safe space. So obviously that's applicable to anyone really. If you don't feel safe or comfortable, you won't open up about your emotions. And obviously one of the key things is being listened to. So in your spaces, what do you do to create that environment that's conducive to these conversations?
It's a really good question. So we do quite a few things. I think one, Turkey has that brand value, that brand name of as an organization as a whole, that someone you can trust. But specific to the pay support spaces that Turkey run, but also the program that we run, which is free for anyone to attend. What we do is, one, we really try to like model that kind of behavior,
Yeah.
um, in terms of, with the facilitators being open and honest and vulnerable. And two, we really try to take away any kind of expectation that they might have from the outside world. So, for example, we really try to make them aware that this is a non-judgmental space, but also it's a confidential space. That what you say here will not end up with your mom or me finding out a week down the line, or someone else in your family or a close circle finding out. So really try to make it a space where, one, we try to model that positive behavior where people feel like they can be vulnerable and open. And two, but also give them that reassurance that this is truly a safe space by honoring things like confidentiality, respect, uh, you know, even disagreements, that we approach them with a level of respect. So really try to build it like from the ground up.
Yes, also there's a couple of things that are quite interesting, and I just want to ask you on we'll look at the disagreement thing in a moment in terms of respect, because again, culturally, historically, it's always been more confrontational when you have disagreement, especially within families. But like when it comes to the confidentiality, when you start discussing that, do you sort of see like a change in body image, or a man's body posture? Say, okay, I feel safe to talk. Do you do you think there's more of an uptake when you state that there's confidentiality?
Yeah. So at the start of every session, we read out group responsibilities. So there's about 8 group responsibilities that we have in Taraki spaces. Respecting each other regardless of background, uh, listening attentively, honoring confidentiality. So basically sticking to those 8 particular steps, which one of them is confidentiality. People do respond differently when you tell them that whatever you say in this space will not leave this space. So it makes them feel so much safer to know that, one, they can say what they want, and two, that they won't be judged for it. So hopefully it creates a positive environment where they can feel like they can be them true selves. Because I don't know about you, but speaking as a guy, I think one of the biggest things that, especially as a Punjabi brown guy, my concern is that if I say something, it might end up, my family might know about it, or just the fear that it will get out. And when you're discussing vulnerable things like alcohol addiction or gambling, or even like intimate relationships, the biggest fear is like your family or your community finding out. So we really try to like make sure that we honor that. And of course, you can't control it, because someone could come to the space and the next day go and tell everyone, I saw so and so in this space. But generally, I think if you're in this space in the first place, you need those things. So you know the value of what it means to have a confidential, safe, non-judgmental space, and ideally, you're not going to break that for someone else, because you wouldn't have it broken for yourself.
And it's quite like important you said that. I think there was a post I saw on your page, the Taraki page recently, where there was a young female, and she was saying about being in a community that there's pros and cons, and one of the cons is that everyone knows your business. Yeah. You turn around, everyone knows what you're doing, and obviously, if you've got mental health issues, or like you said, addictions, and you need that help, one of the problems is so and so is going to say this, so and so is going to say that, and obviously that makes you more, yeah, makes you more introvert about issues. And I think create a safe space is a really good thing. And then the next thing I want to ask about is this respect thing, because again, historically, stigmas attached to it. When people have disagreements, it tends to become more confrontational, and it's like my way or the highway. How do you embed that respect in your safe spaces?
So that's a really good question. We've not really had in the spaces that I've been like direct confrontation. With that being said, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Um, I've never necessarily experienced one, but yeah, I've never seen a situation where someone directly counters someone to be like, I don't believe what you say, or I don't, yeah, it goes against my values. I think if you create the right environment where, like we said, one of the key group responsibilities that we have is respecting each another, regardless of backgrounds, and life experience. Just come with an open mind and an open heart, and we really try to like encourage that. And I think once you come with an open mind and an open heart, the willingness to be confrontational and kind of let your guard down, because I think we have had men who've come in with a bit of a guard up. And I think the thing is, you can't fight fire with fire, you just get bigger fire. If you fight fire with, or you just put some water on it, like kind of soothe it, I think it creates it brings the walls down amongst men. So of course we say things like respecting one another, but as facilitators in the space, we really do try and find as many different ways to kind of get the walls down for the men that are there.
Yeah, and I think that's another, like I like the what you've been saying about the safe spaces, because like you said, to get men to talk, it's that they need to be listened to in a time. Like I said, you got to meet them at their place. Obviously, everyone's different, and with like rates of suicide amongst men being so high, and all the sort of campaigns to get men to talk, I think it's really good what you are doing. And I want to move on to next. So obviously over the last 3 years, you've seen the growth. Where do you anticipate this taking you in terms of like men's mental health? Do you see, is there like a end goal or just a continuation of what you were doing?
We see it as a continuation. So we have what's called Cha in the City, and it's basically a movement that Turkey is trying to build, where we train up as many Punjabi men as facilitators so that they can support their mental well-being and the mental well-being of other Punjabi men in the communities. So we've trained up around 30 men so far over the last 3 years. Now we've expanded into Canada. And we're also going to be expanding into Australia. We're really just touching the surface in terms of how many men we can train up and how many men we can support ultimately. So we're really trying to build this China City movement so that we can train up as many men as possible. So there's not necessarily an end goal. I think the end goal would be to retire me and Shiranjit, but I don't think that's possible in this generation. Maybe fingers crossed in about 2 generations down the line, where everyone feels mentally well enough to be able to navigate life and all the challenges that come with it.
Yeah, and like I like that because I just want to touch on this as well because obviously I know, like we said, we had a chat during COVID, and obviously it's been 3 years since then. Do you feel like there has been progress in this space over the last 3 years? Because obviously I know people relate COVID to bad mental health, but do you see a period of progress since then?
I have noticed a big difference. I think, generally speaking, I think COVID forced us to kind of confront our mental health challenges, our mental well-being. I think before it was just like a foreign concept for a lot of people, even though they felt the emotions of it. So I think kind of having to confront our own mental well-being, what I've noticed in the work or in our work since then, is that the men that come through to the program now are much more, their vocabulary in terms of mental well-being is so much more developed compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago or 10 years ago. So I have seen a general uptake in terms of people being more aware of mental health and also like having the language to be able to communicate how they're feeling and other things. Because, we have seen a really big boom, especially on social media, in terms of not just social media, but mainstream media as well, of people talking about their mental health and like anxiety and depression and like coping mechanisms. So I really have seen that translate into the men that we're working with. And like it's really nice for someone like me to see, because I wrote about mental health about a decade ago now, when I was quite young, and it's great to not only see the landscape changing, but also in my own self to see so much changing and having access to so much positive information.
And that's one of the last things I want to speak about is that positive information you just said. Because obviously social media is a powerful tool and media in general, so you can disseminate positive information. But have you encountered situations where the image has been negative of mental health? Because there's still that balancing act where um, for me personally, I feel that sometimes there's good tips on how to tackle anxiety. There's a lot of good posts, but there's still that negative connotation from social media at times on certain posts where they say, "Oh, anxiety is bad." Do you feel like what I'm trying to get is with social media, do you still feel like there's still another challenge to go there in terms of not portraying it as good and bad? Because we still see that around mental health that it's good, this, that's bad. But do you think there's probably an evolution still to happen there?
It's a really good question. Social media, like the internet, like the world, there's good and there's bad, right? I think it's about what you choose to engage with. Um, I think I agree, there has to be a level of evolution on social media and the internet, because currently it can feel like the Wild West. Like, 1 second the algorithm shows you a really relevant post to your mental health. The next minute you've got someone saying that anxiety is just in your head and you just need to get on with life. So there's like such a contrasting message that you can get in the space of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
For me, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like social media can be a lot of noise now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to like sift through, and not in a good way. But yeah, It's a really good question. I don't think I have the right answer for it. For me, I think what I try to do is just try to minimize the noise. So I know where I would get like positive messaging on social media. So I will actively go after that, because if I don't, then I will have 1,000 messages being sent to me at a day, and I'm pretty sure 900 of those will be negative.
Yeah.
Or will make me question myself, or it will make me, yeah, not just not feel great about myself. So I really try to just be as intentional with social media, because the positive thing is that there has been a boom in terms of like mental health literature on social media, but it doesn't take away the fact that there's a lot of misdirected information as well.
No, that's it. And then I just want to summarize here, and I want to, obviously, people have been listening to this, watching this, and they might be interested in taking part in these men's spaces. How do they go about taking part in these spaces?
Of course, so we have monthly regular spaces at Taraki, which are online, which you can find on the website. Um, and then we have an educational program that we run. We're currently running it in Canada and Southall, but we also intend to run another cycle of that in January 2025. So if anyone is interested, just reach out via email. So taimour@taraki.co.uk. I'm sure we can put the link in the description.
Yeah, of course.
Personally, or you can just email the general Taraki email, and you'll end up with me, towards me, or with me anyways. So yeah, there's multiple ways. And also we've got partner organizations like in Birmingham. So we've got Theore Foundation, who runs spaces in Birmingham. We also have partners in Leeds. So we're really growing that movement. But to answer your question, we have online spaces once every month, and we also have the program. If you're interested in either, just drop me an email, taimour@taraki.co.uk, and I'll make sure that we're able to support you as best as we can.
No, thank you for that. And then, and anyone that's listening or watching, all the information for Taraki, Taimour's email address, everything will be in the caption below. If any of these issues have been relevant to you, please reach out. Try and get the support you need. Taraki are a great group. And back to the social media point, follow them, and they give out good feedback and good positive messaging about mental health. And on that note, guys, I want to thank everyone for listening and watching, and hopefully see you all next time. Thank you. Bye, Taimour.
Everyone.